Have you ever wondered what life would be like out in the wilderness? If your entire job was to just sit in a tower and make sure the forest doesn't catch on fire? Your only contact is miles away and you can only reach them by radio. Well, that's the experience this game will give you with just a little bit of a psychological twist. Hi everyone, and welcome to this game review for the video game Firewatch. Firewatch was published in 2016 by the studio Campo Santo and belongs in this horror mystery genre. The whole concept is you are a character that is stationed out at a Firewatch station, but some things start happening while you're out in the wilderness that begin to poke and prod at the character's paranoia and causes you to dig deeper and deeper into this mystery. The entire development was kind of started based around a painting from one of the artists of this game, and that art style has drastically influenced the entire aesthetic style of this game. Some of the major characters of this game are Henry, who is the main character. He is a man from Boulder, Colorado, with an ailing wife, and he's chosen to take this job as a means of taking a break and getting some space in order to figure out his life. Delilah is the other main character of the game. She's Henry's supervisor and the voice on the other end of the radio. She's the primary other interaction that the player gets with another personality in the game. Ned Goodwin is the former Firewatch member who served at the Two Forks Tower, which is Henry's tower, and then Brian Goodwin is Ned's son, who Ned kind of snuck in, and the two spent the summer together serving at the Firewatch station. Then there are two other characters, Ron and Dave, who are also Firewatch members, and you find them sharing messages between each other all throughout the game through supply caches. The game's story is largely handled from audio interactions and notes that you find throughout the game. These can be tape recordings that are left for you to find, notes that you find at important points in the game and at many of the supply caches, but the majority is done through radio conversations between Henry and Delilah. The larger story is the same no matter what happens throughout the game. However, the player can make important choices that will change the way the characters interact with Henry. Like, you can get the teenage girls to be even more mad at Henry. Or you can make Delilah annoyed or more amiable towards Henry. The player is able to enjoy the world of Firewatch at their own pace. It is largely open world, allowing the character to go wherever, whenever they please. But the devs did build in some options to progress the story based on the way the player plays. There is even a special mode of the game that allows the player to simply roam around the world without any story prompting or direction. If you're even more curious about the game, you can even play the special audio tour mode that allows the player to play the story, but you will find additional audio recordings from the developers talking about how they made this game. However, some of these sections can even add more to the creepiness or additional paranoia of the game because the developers are trying to give visual displays for the topics they're talking about, but sometimes it can be unsettling because you'll be walking around the woods and then all of a sudden come across this valley of Henrys that is the developers trying to show you what it took in order to develop Henry as he is, but in a game where you don't see anybody else, it's quite unsettling to all of a sudden see a bunch of somebody all in one area. The environment of Firewatch is actually pretty chill and relaxing. There were many a time when I would just start playing Firewatch so I can kind of hang out and chill right before going to bed. The artistry is, to me, quite unique and compelling in that it's not trying to give you a real world representation of what's going on. It's actually done quite stylistically and is giving you something other to experience than just a representation of the real world. One thing that the devs did really well, it was to give this sense of loneliness in the game. You see less than a handful of people in the forest throughout the game, and the ones that you do see, they're all at quite a bit of a distance. You can see at certain parts of the game Delilah's tower, but it's also very, very far away. There are times when there is no communication happening and you're just alone. The music in this game adds to that calming environment, picking up when you experience important moments in the story that are meant to cause a certain level of anxiety. There is a point where the game experiments with a person's paranoia. As the mystery begins to unwind, you find yourself asking, how much of what you are experiencing is even real? As Henry and Delilah move further down the rabbit hole, you start to question, is Delilah even real? This is then aided by the environment as you are alone and without any exterior interaction. Okay, I'm just gonna warn you, I really don't think I can talk about this game without at least looking through the story. So right here, this is gonna be the spoiler section. So please, if you want to play Firewatch without any spoilers, pause the video, go play, or skip to another section and completely skip over this very spoiler heavy section. Okay, if you're still with me, let's move on. Firewatch begins with a type of choose your own adventure. This allows the player to be involved in the creation of Henry's backstory. Setting this up also helps the player answer questions honestly or withhold information honestly, as they created the information in the first place. But no matter your choices, you find that Henry has a wife who has early onset dementia. The two are currently separated, and Henry takes this job in the Firewatch as a means of taking some time to figure out his life moving forward. On the first day of the job, Delilah instructs you to discover the source of some fireworks. Ultimately, you find a couple of teenage girls by the lake. When returning to your tower, you come across another person, but you do not know who they are as it's quite a distance away. When Henry returns to his lookout tower, he finds that his typewriter has been tossed from the tower and is on the ground, meaning somebody has broken into his tower. The next day, Henry wakes to find that their communication system has been taken down. Henry discovers that an important cable has been cut. Finding evidence that it was the girls, Henry proceeds to find their campsite. While searching, Henry finds a backpack with Brian Goodwin's name. When Henry finds the girls' campsite, it's been completely destroyed. Henry and Delilah both blame a bear, but they discover a note that's blaming Henry for attacking their campsite. As the days progress, Henry and Delilah learn that the girls have been reported missing, and after a conversation, Delilah submits a report saying that Henry never encountered them. There is a fire that breaks out. Henry discovers a transcript of the conversations he and Delilah have been having that have information proving that Delilah has lied on her report. Henry is then attacked from behind and finds the new information gone. Henry discovers a fenced-in area that both he and Delilah think this is odd. This is where the game begins to explore Henry's paranoia. He starts coming up with conspiracy theories about being spied on. He even develops a conspiracy board so he can figure out how it's all connected. After breaking into the fenced-in area, Henry finds more tracking data, most notably referencing 4 subjects, 1F, 3M. I believe these are references to Henry, Delilah, Ron, and Dave, though this is never made explicit. When leaving the fenced area, there is an explosion beginning a second fire. Henry finds a key for the gated cave that he found on his very first day, so he goes looking into the cave. After coming through the cave, he finds some climbing equipment that he then uses to go even deeper into the cave. As he's exploring the cave, he ultimately comes up with the biggest turning point in the game, which is the body of Brian Goodwin. The question then becomes, well, what happened to this body? Was it an accident? Did Ned kill his son? Was Ned just simply negligent and who knows what happened? But as the story continues to progress, Ned does end up contacting Henry to let him know that he's been hiding in the Two Forks area ever since he left the Firewatch, and that all of the experiences and the mystery that Henry has been experiencing has largely been Ned influencing the situation. You find Ned's campsite that is full of the electronics equipment that he's been using, or the notes he's been taking, or all the various different forms of evidence that Henry has found to think there's some vast conspiracy happening here in the woods. But don't think that Firewatch is simply about the story. There's plenty in this area for you to discover. There's a cabin out in the woods that had apparently caught fire at some point, and when you first discover it, it's completely empty and disheveled, and you can just sit and enjoy as the wind goes breathing through. But if you go to it a second time, you find yourself attacked by a raccoon. There's areas that you can find other tape recordings. There's a section where you can find lyrics and later find another tape recording that is somebody trying to make the song off these lyrics. All in all, Firewatch really has just a little bit of everything. It has the compelling story, it has a mystery that is deep and intricate and hard to figure out where it's going, and it has just that open world feel for you to just take your time and discover and just play around in the world and not feel that there's some objective you're trying to accomplish or some thing you're trying to do. All in all, you're a person at a Firewatch station, and that's your job, making sure that the forest doesn't catch on fire. So, if that's something that's interesting to you, Firewatch is definitely a game that you should check out. Well, that brings us to the end of another review video. If you liked this video, make sure to leave me a like and subscribe to the channel for more of this content, and let me know what you liked, what you thought about the video, what you thought about Firewatch. And as I try to tell everybody when they watch my stuff, leave a Tato down in the comments, and I will catch you guys in the next video.